Okay, let's get started. Thanks for coming for the press conference at the FCCJ, the Foreign Correspondents Club of Japan. We have been inviting the leaders of each party to discuss their policies in the upcoming Tokyo Metropolitan Assembly elections. And we have extended invitations to all bona fide political parties, wishing that everyone gets to speak here. However, there may be some cases where someone couldn't appear due to schedule conflicts and other reasons. And we have invited LDP and other party metropolitan party leaders, and we have today Mr. Yousuke Takagi. He's the head of the Tokyo branch of Komeito, and of course he's also a vice minister of Meiji right now. And I just have to make this announcement quickly. Now that the official election period has started for this Tokyo Metropolitan Assembly elections, we are subject, all of us are subject to the public office elections law. So if your intended audience is in Japan or Japanese, please be aware that there is such a law. And I just need to read that in Japanese as well. 外国特会員協会では、公職選挙法上の政党要件を満たすすべての政党にできる限り当クラブにおける記者会見の招待状を送付して、話していただく機会を作るように心がけていますが、場合によっては党によってスケジュールが合わない、あるいは党の方針で、来られないなどの理由から、来てない場合もありますので、そこはご了承ください。それから、この会見をもとに、記事や映像レポートを配信される場合は、職業がジャーナリストがいないにかかわらず、インターネットなんかでの配信も含めて公職選挙法の対象となりますので、法律の規定を、にご注意の上、記事の配信をするようによろしくお願いします。Okay, so we have Mr. Takagi. He'll be speaking for about 15 minutes in Japanese, so with translation it'll be about half an hour, and then we'll have some Q&A. So let's welcome Mr. Yousuke Takagi.
皆さんこんにちは、公明党の東京都本部代表を務めております衆議院議員の高木陽介でございます。
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Yousuke Takagi. I am chair of the Komeito Tokyo Metropolitan Branch and also a member of the House of Representatives.
で今回はこのように外国人特派員協会においてスピーチをする機会を与えていただきまして改めて感謝申し上げたいと思います。
And I would like to once again extend my gratitude for the opportunity to give a speech or presentation here at the FCCJ today.
で今日は私の方から今回の都議選において、公明党がどういう姿勢で臨んでいるかをお話をさせていただいて、後ほど皆様方からご質問を受けたまりたいと思います。
So initially today I would like to share with you the stance of the Komeito party leading up to or into the current Tokyo Metropolitan Assembly election, and following that have some time for you to share any questions you may have.
でまず今回都議選におきまして私ども公明党は21の選挙区に23名を公認をさせていただいております。
And in regards to this current election, as Komeito, we have 23 candidates who are sitting for election in 21 electorates within the Tokyo metropolitan area.
で今回の都議選の意義についてでありますが、外国人特派員協会の皆様方にも関心のある2020年東京オリンピック・パラリンピックにおいて今回選ばれた議員がそれを迎えるということになります。
And in regards to the significance of this Tokyo Metropolitan Assembly election, I believe that particularly the members of the FCCJ are likely to have interest in the 2020 Olympics and Paralympics and what the elected assembly members will be undertaking towards this.
で3年後の東京オリンピック・パラリンピックに対しまして、この主催地である東京都がどのような形でそれを開催していくのか、この議会がしっかりとそれをリードしていけるかどうか、その議員を選ぶ重要な選挙であると捉えています。
And considering that these Olympics will be taking place in 3 years, the Olympics and Paralympics, looking at how the host city of Tokyo will be holding these upcoming tournaments, and looking also at whether the Metropolitan Assembly will indeed be able to take the lead towards this as not. I think this is one of the key points of this election.
でその上で、国内的に見て、今回の都議選は小池都政の掲げる東京改革をどのように進めるのか、またはそれをストップさせるのか、これが問われる選挙だと思います。
And from the domestic perspective, I believe that the significance of this upcoming election is, of course, looking at the Tokyo City as led currently by Governor Koike, how it will go ahead to allow her to conduct the reform policies she has put in place, or how it may look to stop this reform going forward as well. This is the key domestically for the election.
で私ども公明党は国政の場におきまして自由民主党と連立政権を結んでおりますが、今回の都議選において、長年協力をしてきた都議会自民党との関係を一旦これを白紙にいたしまして、小池都政と連携するということを決断をいたしました。
And as Komeito, in the national political sphere, we are, of course, in the coalition government together with the Liberal Democratic Party at the moment. However, in regards to this Tokyo Metropolitan Assembly election, we have made the decision to, for now, take a break on that relationship and instead to cooperate together with Governor Koike in regards to her policies and towards this election.
その経緯について若干お話をさせていただきたいと思いますが、昨年の夏、東京都知事選が行われまして、小池知事が290万票を獲得をし、都民がこの小池知事を選択をいたしました。
And so in regards to this point, last summer, of course, there was the gubernatorial election here in Tokyo, and Ms. Koike was elected with 2.9 million votes at that time, and since last summer has been the governor of Tokyo.
私たち公明党東京都本部としては、小池知事とは違う候補を推薦をいたしました。
And as the Tokyo Metropolitan branch of Komeito, we were supporting a different candidate at this time.
しかしながら、小池知事が都民が選択したということで、都議会公明党としては、この知事に対しては、是々非々、いいものはいい、悪いものは悪いということで臨んでいこうというふうに決断をいたしました。
However, Ms. Koike was selected or elected by the people of Tokyo, and so in regards to the politics on the Tokyo metropolitan level, as Komeito, we have made the decision to support her in her efforts, which we believe are good, and for those things which we do not agree with, to also be critical in regards to them.
そのような中で、先日、小池知事が築地の市場を豊洲に移転をするということを決断をいたしましたが、この豊洲市場の決める延期の問題、さらには東京オリンピック・パラリンピック、これから3年後でございますが、負担が増えていくといった問題が生じてきました。
And in regards to this relationship, well, Ms. Koike has just the other day announced the decision to relocate or to go ahead with the relocation of the market from Tsukiji to Toyosu. However, there is, of course, the issue of the delay which was involved in this decision regarding the market relocation. Also, looking at the fact that the Olympics and Paralympics will be held here in just 3 years from now, there is also the issue of the increasing burdens in relation to this.
そのような中で、都民に財政的な負担をお願いするということで、議会自らが身を削る、こういった改革をしなければいけないということで、議員の報酬を 20% 削減するということを公明党が提案をさせていただきました。
And considering this situation and the fact that more and more of this financial burden was looking to be put onto the people or the residents of Tokyo, as Komeito, we put forward the proposal that it is the Metropolitan Assembly which should be taking on very serious cuts in regards to this itself. As a result, Komeito proposed a 20% reduction in the remuneration of Assembly members.
でこの提案するにあたりまして、長年協力を結んでいた自由民主党の都議会のメンバーにこの件を相談をしたところ、自民党側からは拒否をされるというこういう状況になりました。
However, when we took this proposal to the members from the LDP, with whom we had a long cooperation to consult with them, they said that, well, this would be refused by the LDP.
しかしながら、今年の3月の都議会定例会におきまして、公明党の 20% 削減のこの提案について、他の会派も賛成をする、共同提案をするということになり、最終的に拒否をしていた自民党も賛成をして、全会一致でこの削減案が可決・成立をしたということがございました。
However, in the regular sitting of the Metropolitan Assembly in March of this year, we were able to bring this proposal of a 20% cut in Assembly members' remuneration together with other factions or other parties. At that time, after making a joint position, eventually the Liberal Democratic Party also agreed with this proposal, and it was passed with full agreement from the Assembly.
一方、昨年の12月でございますが、2017年度の東京都の予算の編成を小池知事を中心に行っていくときに、各会派、政党会派から都知事の方にそれぞれの要望を出すという場面がございました。
And in December of last year, when surrounding Governor Koike, and there was the proposals being put forth in regards to the 2017 budget for the Metropolitan government, each of the political factions was putting forward their requests to Governor Koike.
私ども公明党はこの一番大きな柱として、私立高校の授業料の無償化を提案をさせていただきました。
And at that time, as Komeito, we put forward as the great pillar or the major pillar within our policy proposals to have making high school education, even in private schools, also made free within the city.
東京都の場合には、この都立高校にすべての高校生が入れるという状況ではなく、私立高校に高校生の半数以上が通わなければならないという状況がございました。
In the case of Tokyo, there is not actually sufficient places in Tokyo Metropolitan public schools for all children of the high school age to be able to attend a public school. We have the situation in the city where approximately half of the high school students have no choice but to go to private schools.
これまで子育て支援については公明党力を入れて動いてまいりましたが、この私立高校の授業料の無償化について小池知事は全面的に受け入れをして、2017年度の予算に組み込むことになりました。
And Komeito has consistently been putting great efforts towards supporting people of child-rearing families and so on, and child-related policies. And regarding our proposal to make private high schools also available free of cost, Ms. Koike fully accepted this proposal, and it was incorporated into the 2017 budget.
その予算の協議の際に、小池知事の方からは、公明党に対して、ぜひとも今後も協力をしていただきたいという発言があり、その後、知事側と私たち公明党が協議を重ねる中で、3月、知事が代表を務める都民ファーストの会と都議会公明党の間で政策合意がなされ、さらに選挙協力をすることになりました。
And so following this budget debate, Ms. Koike made a statement that she would also hope for further cooperation from Komeito following this as well. After this, Komeito held discussions together with Governor Koike, and in March of this year, Komeito and Ms. Koike's party, Tomin First, came up with a policy or an agreement, a policy agreement, and also an agreement on election cooperation.
現在、選挙戦が始まっている中で、各種世論調査では、都民ファースト自民党が第一党を争っておりますけれども、現実、都民ファーストだけで都議会の運営をしていくということは、かなり大変なことだと、小池知事自身もお認めになっておられます。
And now it is, of course, into the election period. Amongst public polling and so on, it seems that it is very much a challenge between the LDP and Ms. Koike's Tomin First, or Tokyo Residents First Party. However, we believe, and in fact, Governor Koike herself has also acknowledged that it would be very difficult for her party, Tomin First, to alone manage the city assembly, the city politics.
でそのような中で、小池知事は、都議会公明党は都政の頭脳であるというふうな発言もしていただきまして、都議会公明党がこの議会運営の軸となってもらいたい、そういった中で今回金曜日から始まりました選挙戦におきましても、公明党の23人の候補の街頭演説会すべてに出席をして応援をするという形となりました。
And within such a situation, Ms. Koike has also made remarks to say, for example, that she sees Komeito functioning as a kind of brain within the Tokyo Metropolitan politics or government as well. So we see and that there can be very much a hope for Komeito to form an axis or a center really within the Metropolitan Assembly from now as it is formed. Since Friday of last week, we have entered the election period, and Ms. Koike has stated that she will actually be attending and giving her full support to all of the public campaigning and so on of the 23 Komeito candidates.
皆様ご存知のように、地方自治体におきましては、知事または首長などと、議会をそれぞれ住民が直接選挙で選ぶという二元代表制を持っております。
And as you are aware, in the situation of local government in Japan, for positions such as the governor, mayor, or heads of the local authorities, these are elected directly by the people.
で改革を進めるためには、知事と議会が連携をしなければできないという状況にあります。
And in order to pursue reform within such a situation, it is necessary to have cooperation between the governor and the assembly.
そういった意味で公明党はこの小池都政の東京改革の中軸となっていくつもりであります。
And in this sense as well, Komeito plans from now also to take a central role in Ms. Koike's Tokyo reform.
公明党の強みというのはネットワークにございます。
The strength of Komeito is in our network.
国、都道府県、区市町村とそれぞれに議会がございますが、公明党の場合にはそれぞれに議員を抱えて、東京都内におきましても350人の区市町村会議員がおります。
In regards to Komeito, well, of course, there are assemblies on all levels of politics in Japan, from the national, prefectural, city, and local as well. And through this network, Komeito has members in all of these levels of the government. In Tokyo, for example, actually throughout all of the levels of government within Tokyo, we have 350 members.
東京を改革するためには、1300万人の東京都民の声をいかにきめ細かく吸い上げるかというのも大きな課題となります。
And in order to conduct true reform in Tokyo, it is very important to look at how the voices of the 13 million residents of the city can really be picked up in great detail and listened to.
で、公明党のそれぞれの地方議員がしっかりとその声を吸い上げながら、今回の都議会議員と連携を取りながら、この1300都民のニーズをしっかりと受け止めて政策に反映してまいります。
Therefore, as Komeito, our local members, or those people within the different local governments within Tokyo, are also active in listening to the voices of residents. They will be cooperating with the members of the Metropolitan Assembly in order to look at what exactly the needs of the 13 million residents in the city are and how to reflect this in policy.
一方で、東京オリンピック・パラリンピックもそうでございますが、東京都が行うとはいえ、国がしっかり協力しなければなりません。
And at the same time, of course, the Olympics and Paralympics will be hosted or led by the Tokyo government, but the national government also has a significant role to play.
そのような中で、国政の場において、与党の公明党がしっかりと東京と国のパイプ役となりながら取り組んでまいりたいと考えています。
And in that sense as well, considering that Komeito is part of the governing coalition, we will also act as a pipe between the metropolitan government to the national government as well to ensure smooth cooperation.
この度の都議選に、おいて、公明党としては15分野53項目にわたる重点政策を発表いたしました。
In regards to the upcoming or this current Tokyo Metropolitan Assembly elections, as Komeito in our policy platform, we have set out 15 major categories with 53 individual points listed under these as our priorities for the election.
でその中で、特に、外国人特派員協会の方々も関心を持っておられる、受動喫煙の防止、つまり、原則屋内全面禁煙とする受動喫煙防止の条例を制定するということも掲げさせていただきました。
And one of the points included within this, which may be of interest for the members of the FCCJ, is in regards to our proposal for a bylaw regarding prevention of or passive smoking in Tokyo as well, by forbidding all smoking within enclosed or inside areas.
でさらには私立高校の無償化に続いて、今度は幼児教育を完全無償化するということも掲げさせていただきました。
Another point, in addition to the previously mentioned making high schools, even private schools, available for free, is also making early childhood education available at no cost.
実はこれまでも東京都の政策が国の政策に先んじて行われ、国が後から法律化していくといった制度がいくつかございました。
There are several cases in the past where policies or laws were first put in place within Tokyo, and then this was later implemented on a national level.
一つの例を挙げさせていただきますが、今ではヨーロッパでは当たり前の児童手当、日本も中学校3年生まで、15歳まで、児童手当を受け取る制度になっています。
So, for example, one of the policies which has been put in place in such a way, which is something which is also very much the place in most European countries, is to have a subsidy available for children, currently up to the, provided to families with children, provided up to the 3rd grade of junior high school or around 15 years of age.
実はこの児童手当も東京都が先行して行いました。
This system was actually first introduced by Tokyo.
1969年、当時の都議会の公明党が主張させていただき、東京都の条例として児童手当が東京都でスタートいたしました。
This was actually begun in 1969 by a bylaw which was introduced within Tokyo by Komeito at the time.
国は遅れること3年、1972年に児童手当法という法律ができて、全国一律の制度となりました。
And actually 3 years after this, in the year 1972, was when the national government put a similar subsidy for children into place in the national legislation.
このように考えますと、児童喫煙の防止も、また幼児教育の無償化も、東京都が先行してやることで、国の制度を大きく変えていくということで、私ども全力を挙げて取り組んでいこうと思っています。
So when we consider such previous examples, we believe that it will also be possible through introducing bylaws regarding passive smoking or making available for free early childhood education on the Tokyo level. This will actually be one way to eventually change the national policy or national legislation in regards to this as well. And we will conduct all the efforts possible in order to do so.
私の方からは以上説明をさせていただきましたので、あとは皆様方からのご質問をお受けしたいと思います。
So I would like to hereby close my initial remarks and go on to time for questions from all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Takagi. Okay, so we're going to go to a Q&A, but I guess I forgot important business. Our interpreter today is our famous Mary Joyce, as always. And actually, I forgot to introduce myself as well. I'm Teddy Jimbo. I'm a moderator today and co-chair of the committee that organized the press conference like this. Okay, so let's go to Q&A. And please give your name and affiliation if you have, and let's ask questions, not the speeches, please. Let's start with the working press table. I don't know which one is the working press table, but anyway, anyone from working press want to go first? Well, I don't see any hands, so let's open the whole floor. Anyone who wish to ask a question, please raise your hand.
外国党員からなんですけれども、いなければもうどなたでも質問ができるという形になっております。
Okay, first hand. Okay, go ahead. Please come forward and to the microphone.
マイクの方に来ていただいて、
And please give your name and affiliation,
ま
please.
ずお名前と所属の方もお願いします。
共同通信の福田です。ですね、都議選についてなんですけれども、自民党とですね、荒川や足立、北区でですね、激しく競り合っていますが、先ほども要は国政と都政は直結しているという話も出ましたけれども、その選挙後にですね、自民党との関係にこの激戦がですね何か影響するのではないかという見方もありますが、これについてはどうでしょうか。
I am from Kyoto News. I have a question in regards to the current election. There is currently a great struggle, actually, together with the LDP in the wards of Arakawa, Adachi, and Kita within Tokyo as well. You discussed or you touched upon the direct relationship between the national and local level of politics in regards to this, and it could be considered that actually such a coming up against each other in the local metropolitan elections could have an impact also on the national relationship with the LDP. Could I ask for your comment in regards to that?
はい、結論から申し上げますと、国政には影響を与えません。
To first say the conclusion, I do not believe that this will have any impact on the national politics.
まず東京都議選の場合には中選挙区制といって、複数当選者が出るという選挙制度を作っています。
First of all, in regards to the electoral system within the Tokyo Metropolitan Assembly elections, it is the case actually that several people are appointed from each of the electorates.
でこれまでも過去都議選におきまして最後の1議席を自民党の候補者と公明党の候補者が争う場面は何度もありました。
And there have been many occasions until now when the last seat in a particular locality, for example, has been competed for by Komeito and the LDP.
どうしてもメディアの皆様方は国政が小選挙区制度、特に衆議院選挙が小選挙区制度になりましたので、丸か×かといった判断をしがちですけれども、地方選挙の場合にはこの中選挙区制度で行いますので、例えば定数さんにおきまして自民党が2人出ている、で私どもが出ている、それ以外に民進党や共産党やその他の政党の方々が出ていて、そういった部分ではそれぞれがライバルとなって選挙を争うというのがこれまでの地方選挙でございました。
And of course, the media, particularly considering the changes that have been made recently into the electoral system of the House of Representatives, tend to look at, well, either black and white sort of situation in regards to this. However, when we look at the system which is in place in regards to elections on the local government level, there has been, many cases, for example, when in one particular location where there may be 3 seats up for election, the LDP may have 2 candidates. Komeito will also have its own candidates, as well as the Democratic Party, the Japanese Communist Party, and other parties also, fighting over the same seats and being rivals in this election.
例えば2009年の東京都議会議員選挙でございますが、この時は民主党が政権交代をした年で、民主党が都議選でもブームになりました。
For example, if we look at the case of the elections in 2009, this was also at the time when the Democratic Party of Japan, as it was at the time, was taking the government on the national level, and there was also, they had a great boom in the Tokyo Metropolitan elections also.
で、ただいま例示を挙げられました荒川区というのは定数2でありますが、その時に民主党の候補が当選をして最後の1議席を公明党と自民党が争って公明党が勝ちました。でその後国政において影響を与えたかというと全くありませんでした。
For example, you mentioned the case of Arakawa Ward in Tokyo. At that time, there were 2 seats up for election. The first was taken by the Democratic Party, and the second seat was the competition of Komeito and LDP. Komeito was successful in taking this second seat, but if we consider whether this had an impact on the national level, this was not the case.
よろしいですか。
Okay, Any other questions? Oh, じゃさん。
フリーランスの藤田博之と申します。夕刊富士なんか書いたりしてますが、食の安全、築地か豊洲かというのも非常に重要な問題なんですが、今高木先生おっしゃられましたようにオリンピックを3年後に控えてですね、真剣にそのセキュリティの問題もやはり考えないといけないと思っております。例えば、テロとかですね、あるいはサイバー攻撃による交通機関とかさまざまな機関が麻痺するとかですね、ミサイルが飛んでくる可能性はないと思いますが、例えばそんなことも脅しでもですね、例えば選手が来れないとかですね、いろんなことも考えられると思います。ですからいい機会ですから都の問題ではありますが、もっとその国政と一体化したような形でですね、首都でもありますし、真剣に訴えるようなことをしていただけないかなと思ってるんですが、この辺はいかがお考えでございました。はい。
My name is Fujita. I am a freelance reporter. There is, of course, the issue of Tsukuji and Toyosu and so on, as you have mentioned, but Tokyo will be hosting the Olympics 3 years from now. And I would like to raise the issue of security in regards to this. There are, of course, issues to be considered, such as terrorism, potential cyber attacks affecting the transportation system. I don't believe it's likely that missiles will necessarily be coming towards Tokyo, but there is, of course, this threat in place as well. And this could lead, for example, to situations of the athletes not being able to travel here, many different aspects in regards to security for the Olympics. I see that it could be a good chance to link, well, while it is a local metropolitan election, it is, of course, the capital of the country as well, to link this with the national politics and have a discussion or debate in regards to these security issues. What is your thoughts on this?
ありがとうございます。今ご指摘いただいたように、セキュリティの問題、テロやサイバー攻撃の問題等は大変重要な問題と考えております。
Thank you for this question. As you mentioned, the issues of terrorism and cyber attacks are indeed, well, security are indeed very important issues.
でこれらの問題は国、政府だけが関わる問題ではなくて、東京都をはじめとする都道府県、またはそれぞれの1700の市町村、それぞれの自治体、またはそれ以外の関係者もすべて一緒になって考えていかなければいけない問題だと思っています。
And this issue, of course, is not just an issue for the national government of Japan. It is also something which concerns Tokyo and all of the metropolitan or prefectural governments throughout Japan, as well as the 1,700 local municipal governments or local municipalities throughout the country as well. This is an issue which must be discussed in cooperation with all related stakeholders.
そのためには東京オリンピック・パラリンピックまであと3年の間にそのセキュリティのシステムというものを確立していかなければいけないと思います。
Therefore, I believe that in the 3 years as we are approaching the Olympics and Paralympics, it is necessary to ensure such related security systems.
もちろん軸となるのは政府でありましょうが、その地域地域に関わる地方の自治体、東京都も含めてですけれども、さらには企業ですとか、そういう地域のコミュニティですとか、そういったものも含めてこの問題というのを認識をしていかなければいけないと思います。
And of course, it will be the national government which will be, well, at the center of introducing such systems. However, this is also an issue in which there must be the involvement and also recognition of local municipalities, which includes Tokyo, as well as corporations and local communities as well.
そういった意味では、まさに公明党が国政、東京都とのパイプとなりながら、また先ほど申し上げた東京の23区、30の市町村ございますが、島を除いてですね、そういったそれぞれの議員とも連携を取りながら、このセキュリティ問題については、前面に立って取り組んでいきたいと考えています。
And this is related to the point which I mentioned before, that Komeito can indeed act as a pipeline going between the national government and the Tokyo Metropolitan Assembly or government as well. There are 23 wards within Metropolitan Tokyo. On top of this, the 30 local municipalities, not including the islands, which are part of Tokyo as well. Therefore, it is necessary to look at cooperation between each of these levels, and Komeito can play the role to cooperate with local members in each of these also.
Okay, any other questions? You have to limit the questions to the Metropolitan Assembly elections. He's the Kanjicho Dairi of Komeito, and also he's the Vice Minister of METI. He's in charge of the tackling the nuclear disaster in METI, the Ministry of Economy and Trade and Industry. So anything related to his responsibilities is fine. Anyone?高木先生の方から特に質問は上がらないみたいですけど、その時間があるので、もし何か
わかりました。
話しきらなかったことがあれば。
日本の記者の皆様方はご存知の歴史も多いと思いますが、せっかく外国人特派員協会でお話をさせていただいておりますので、公明党の歴史についてもう少し私の方からお話をさせていただきたいと思います。
And as we seem to have some time, well, the Japanese media who are present here may be very closely familiar with this, but because I would like to take the opportunity of being able to speak here at the FCCJ to share some information regarding the history of Komeito or the background of Komeito, if I may.
公明党は1964年に結党させていただきました。
Komeito was established as a political party in 1964.
当時その段階で約1500人の議員集団となっておりました。
And at that time, it was a formation of around 1,500 members.
現在はその地方議員も含めて3000人の集団となっています。
So it was, there were 1,500 representatives at that time. However, now we have reached the level of including also representatives on the local government level of 3,000 members.
実はその前に1955年に統一地方選挙で無所属で52名を当選させました。
And actually, prior to being founded or established officially as a political party in 1955, we had actually stood and were successful in having 52 people elected in the local elections, which happened throughout Japan in that year.
今、公明党という形で支持団体の創価学会が当時、創価学会文化部というものを作りまして、そして52名のその候補者を擁立して当選をさせました。
And at that time, these 52 people were elected after having been put forward by what would translate as the cultural division or cultural branch of the Soka Gakkai organization, which forms the support base for Komeito as it is now.
で当時の政治状況というのは1955年体制と言われて、当時、自由民主党が自由党と日本民主党が合体をして、保守の政党ができました。
And actually, at that time, it was at the time which was called or known as the 1955 regime, which was when the two major parties were actually together and forming a single conservative party.
一方で革新の勢力として、社会党の左派と右派が合併をして日本社会党ができました。
And at that time, in opposition or as an alternative to this, as a sort of the progressive forces within politics at the time, the left and right factions of the Socialist Party also came together to form a party.
当時二大政党と言われましたけれども、実はこの自由民主党は企業または経済界をバックとした政党として成り立っておりました。
And so it is said that, well, there are two main or major political parties, but actually the LDP in formation within this time, it had its support base very much from the economic field or from corporate field.
一方、社会党の方は労働組合を中心として出来上がっていましたが、労働組合の場合には公務員、官公労と言いますけれども、公務員の組合、または大企業の組合が中心となっていました。
And in regards to the social party, this was formed with the support base from labor unions, particularly unions of public officials, but also of unions from people working at corporations.
日本は1955年以降、高度経済成長に入っていくわけでありますが、当時、地方から都市部に多くの労働者が移動してまいりました。
And at that time in 1955, Japan was coming towards the rapid economic growth which was to follow. And at that time, many workers were coming from regional areas to urban centers.
その多くが中小企業の従業員として生活をしておりました。
And the majority of them, or many of them, were living as employees of small to mid-sized enterprises.
そうなりますと、その大企業中心の自民党と労働組合中心の社会党に属さない多くの市民が存在をしました。
However, at that time, those or most of the people who were employed or in connection with large corporations were affiliated with the LDP or felt that they were represented by the LDP, and those coming from the labor unions were represented by, at the time, the Shakaito. However, there were also many people who were not feeling or were not represented by either of these two major parties.
そういった市民の声を誰が政治に反映してくれるのかということで、この無所属の52人が地方議会からスタートをして、その時に、都議会に1人議員を誕生させることができました。
And so looking at the issue of who would be responsible, who would be capable of reflecting the voices of these citizens who were not related or represented by these two major parties in politics became a question. And this was in the background of what led to the 52 candidates who stood independently being elected at this time. It began with the local government level, and at the time one person from within this group was elected to the Tokyo Metropolitan Assembly.
その後、国政においては参議院選挙に進出をして、昭和37年に公明政治連盟という政治団体を結成をいたしました。1963年ですね。
And following this, there was the House of Councillors election, which came several years later. And in the year 1963, these efforts also went forward to elect more representatives in the House of Councillors election.
でその後、1964年に公明党を結党して、1967年に初めて衆議院に進出をいたしました。
And so the House of Councillors election was conducted also still as independents. Then the following year in 1964 was when Komeito was established as a political party. Then 3 years after that, in 1967, was when Komeito first made a challenge at the House of Representatives level.
以来半世紀にわたって政治に関わってまいりまして、1999年に当時小渕内閣でございましたが、公明党は国政の場において与党に参画をいたしました。
And around half a century of time has passed since this, and Komeito has continued to be involved in national politics from then. Since the year 1999, under the Obuchi government or Obuchi cabinet at that time, Komeito has started to participate in the government on the national level.
2000年代の初めの小泉内閣の時でございますが、当時の官房長官を務めていた福田官房長官が予算委員会の質疑において公明党との連立で何かいいことはあったかという質問がありました。
And following this, as we entered the 2000s, this was when there was the cabinet of Prime Minister Koizumi. At the time, the Chief Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Fukuda, raised a question in the Budget Committee about what the good or what the merit would be of a coalition with Komeito.
でその時に当時の福田官房長官が話したことには、自民党は経済も含めてマクロで捉えるけれども、公明党は地方議員を生かしながらミクロの部分、現場のさまざまな課題というものをしっかりと吸い上げてもらっている。でそれがしっかりと自民党と公明党が連携をすることで、国民全体にこの利益を与えていることができるといった内容のことを答弁をしていただきました。
And after being asked about this, the then Chief Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Fukuda, said that the Liberal Democratic Party tends to look at things, particularly look at the economy on a macro level. However, Komeito, due to its large number of local members throughout Japan as well, can look at things on the micro level, can look at different local issues, how to pick up these local voices and raise them to the level of politics as well. As a result of this, cooperation between the LDP and Komeito is able to benefit all people of Japan.
2009年から3年3ヶ月、民主党が政権を 取り、私どもは野党でありましたけれども、その時代を含めて、自民党と連立政権を組んで以来、18年間、連携を密にしながらやってきています。
In 2009, or from 2009, for a period of 3 years and 3 months, the Democratic Party of Japan took control of the government, and we were then in the position of the opposition. Even during that time, however, we continued, and throughout this 18 years period of a coalition, to work in very close cooperation with the LDP.
そういった歴史を振り返れば、この都議会で、先ほど申し上げました、それぞれの地域で、対決する場面があっても、国政全体としては影響がないというふうに断言もしていきたいと思います。
And when we consider this kind of history, to go back to the issue touched on before as well, in the level of the Tokyo Metropolitan Assembly elections, there may be local situations where candidates of Komeito and LDP are rivals up against each other. However, I would like to express clearly that this does not have any impact on the national political level.
もう一つ言いたいことは、昨日横須賀、神奈川県の横須賀の市長選で、自民党と公明党と民進党が推す、候補者が、新人が当選をすることができました。
And one more point I would like to add is that actually the mayoral election in Yokosuka in Kanagawa Prefecture took place over the weekend or yesterday as well. And a candidate supported was able to be elected at this election yesterday in Yokosuka.
地方の政治におきましては、このように、国政で対立をしている自民党と民進党が協力をしてやることが多々ありながら、国政に影響が与えますかといった質問は、メディアの皆さん方、記者の皆さん方はあまりしません。
Sorry to add, so the candidate who was elected in Yokosuka was supported by both the LDP and the Democratic Party, actually. And so when we consider the fact that these parties are in opposition with each other on the national level, but the fact that there is cooperation on this local government level as well, well, that is something which is not a question that the media raises, if such kind of cooperation has an impact on the national level or not.
それは多分、国政と地方政治は違うというふうに認識されているからでしょう。
And this is likely because national politics and local politics are recognized to be separate.
47都道府県、1700の市町村、それぞれに課題がありますので、各政党としては立場が変わることもあると思いますし、またその組み合わせが国政の組み合わせと違う場面というのは多々あると思います。
When we consider the fact that there are 47 prefectures and 1,700 local municipalities throughout Japan, of course, each of these are holding their own issues, their own challenges, their own situations. And therefore, the position of different political parties may also be different depending on the context as well. This will mean that also the combination of cooperation is not necessarily the same on each of these levels of politics.
ただ、東京の場合には、首都東京ということと、人口が1300万人もいるということで、影響力があるということで注目されることは分かりますが、そういった国政と地方政治というものも、特に日本のメディアの皆様方は冷静に見ていただければと、このようにも思っております。
Of course, Tokyo is the capital of Japan, and it has a population of 13 million people. In this sense, I can understand that there is, well, more of an influence, perhaps, from the Tokyo political situation. However, when we consider I would like to particularly appeal to the Japanese media to recognize the fact that the local and national politics are indeed separate and to remain, well, calm or collected in regards to this.
私の方から以上でございます。
Thank you very much.
Thank you. If I don't see any hands, let me just take the liberty of being a moderator and ask. いきます？じゃあどうぞどうぞどうぞ。
ロイター通信の竹中です。最近の世論調査できますと、公明党も参加されていらっしゃる安倍内閣の支持率、大幅に下落をしました。これに関してはこれから始まる長い下落傾向のスタートというような感じで見るべきなのか、あるいは見ていらっしゃるのか、あるいは一時的なものでまた盛り返してくるというような見方なのかで、もしそうであれば、何がそのリバウンドをするきっかけになるのか そういうふうに何がなりそうなのかと。なる可能性があるのか、そのあたりのことをちょっと教えていただきたいんですが、よろしくお願いします。
My name is Takenaka. I would like to ask a question in regards to results we have seen in recent opinion polls where we can see a decrease in the support levels of the Abe cabinet. I would like to ask if you see that this is something which will need to be dealt with on the long term from here, or if you think that this is a temporary situation which can be regained. And if this is the case, what do you think it will be that will bring about such a rebound?
はい、今ご指摘いただきましたように、先週の各メディアの世論調査で一斉に安倍内閣の支持率が下がったことは事実だと思います。
As you mentioned, it is indeed a fact that the various public opinion polls which were presented by the media last week did show a significant drop in support for Mr. Abe.
これが下落傾向につながるのか一時的なのかということは、私は正直今の段階では分かりません。
However, whether this will be a continuing tendency or something which is a temporary situation is something I am not sure yet of.
ただ、与党の一員として申し上げれば、これを一時的なものにして、しっかりと国民の支持を盛り返していかなければいけないと考えています。
However, as a member of the government, I think that we need to do all we can to ensure that this is only a temporary situation and to regain once again the support of the people.
これは各メディアも指摘をされておりましたが、この支持率が下がった大きな要因として、例えば国会の終わり方、例えば組織犯罪処罰法の取り扱いの仕方、さらには、加計学園の問題等々指摘しておりましたけれども、それも影響を与えたとは思います。
And as has been pointed out by the media in regards to the reasons for this drop in support levels, it is largely to do with the situation surrounding the end of the recent diet session. We can look, for example, at the legislation put in place regarding to organized crime and how to deal with this, or also the Kake Gakuen situation and the scandals involving that as well. This has indeed had an impact on the support levels.
やはり大切なことは、そういった疑問を呈されたときに、しっかりと説明をしていくことが重要であろうと思います。
I believe that what is important is that when such questions or concerns are raised, it is very or most necessary to provide sufficient explanation.
それは野党の議員に対する説明ではなくて、だけではなくて、その後ろにも国民がいるということ。例えばテレビのそのカメラの向こう側にも国民がいるということ。記者のその質問をしているその後ろにも国民がいるということ、ここをしっかりと意識をしてやることが重要だと思います。
And this explanation must be provided not only for the opposition Diet members, but of course they are also, well, they have the weight of the many people of Japan behind them as well. When we look at, for example, the television cameras or the questions which are posed by journalists as well, these all have the people behind them as well. And this is a fact of which we need to be aware.
Okay. Well, Mr. Takagi is actually a former journalist for Mainichi Shimbun, and he was actually for a long time in charge of a PR department in Komeito. So, Mr. Takagi, you need to say something that makes a headline, and maybe I can help you with that. So let me just ask a few questions. First of all, you stressed that the local politics and the national politics are separate. You went in length to explain that. But I still have to ask you that why is Tokyo Metropolitan Assembly that important for Komeito that you even have to run against a coalition partner in national politics? Why is it such of such importance for Komeito? That's my question number one. すみません、今の話は、国政と地方政治は別々だって話を長きにわたってされましたけど、とはいえ連立を組んでいる自民党に対峙してまで、どうして東京、都議会選挙に、対自民党で戦う形にしてまで出なきゃいけないほど東京都議選というのが公明党にとって重要なのかという質問です。
はい、公明党にとって重要というよりも日本にとって重要だと考えています。
I believe that this election or this assembly is not so much important for Komeito, but actually for Japan.
先ほど公明党の実績のことで申し上げましたけれども、東京都の政策というものが先行して国がそれについていくというパターンがいくつかありました。
As I mentioned when I was outlining some of the past achievements of Komeito, actually in many cases we have seen that a policy is first put in place in Tokyo and then this is later followed on the national level.
逆に東京都が混乱した場合には、その東京の混乱だけではなくて国全体の混乱につながると考えています。
I also believe that, for example, if there were a situation where there was some kind of confusion or difficulties within Tokyo, this would also lead to the same problems occurring on the national level.
そういった意味では、この都政が安定をするということが重要だと思います。
Therefore, I believe that it is very important for the politics in Tokyo to be stable.
国政においても安倍内閣ができて、もう4年半が過ぎましたけれども、国政が安定しているということが国際社会において日本の信用を高めているという事実があると思います。
And when we consider the fact that, well, we are now around 4.5 years into the Abe cabinet or the Abe government, the fact that this government has been so stable has led to an increased confidence from the international community in Japan, this stability.
でそう考えると、東京都がしっかりと安定をして、3年後の東京オリンピック・パラリンピックを迎える。で経済的に問題なのは、その後もしっかりと東京が安定をして進んでいくということが、日本の経済にとっても大きな影響になると思います。
And when we consider that Tokyo will be hosting the Olympics and Paralympics 3 years from now, looking at how the Tokyo Metropolitan Government and Assembly can be stable during this period will be very important. When we look at the economic situation, it is also important to look at how Tokyo will continue after the Olympics as well in regards to its economy as well. And this will have a great impact on the national economy of Japan.
Okay, thank you. The very last question. The Governor Koike appears to maintain its very high popularity even after her sort of ambiguous decision on Toyosu and Tsukiji. Why do you think it is? Why is she that popular? And on the same context, why is Minshinto so unpopular even in Tokyo? They seem to be heading into a devastating election, but why do you think it is?
都民の皆さん方に聞きたいと思うんですけれども、まず、小池知事の場合にはこれまで、東京都政で見えなかった部分を明らかにしようとする姿勢は評価されていると思います。
Well, this is a question I would want to ask of the people of Tokyo, actually. But in regards to the case of Governor Koike, I believe that her efforts to make clear some of the things which had not been visible within the political situation in the Tokyo Metropolitan Government until now, her acts towards visibility have been praised or welcomed by the people.
でそういった中にあって、例えば豊洲の延期、賛否両論ありましたけれども、その間で例えば盛り土をしていなかった問題も明らかになったり、またはこの地下水の調査でも数字がまた変わったり、そういうことについて、多くの都民は、これまでの都政に対する不信感を持ったと思います。
And for example, when we consider the delays around the relocation of the fish market to Toyosu, well, there are various opinions perhaps in place about this relocation itself or the situation surrounding that. But there were various factors or aspects of this which came clear in this process as well. For example, the situation of the additional soil or landfill not being put in place as it had been promised, or also different figures coming out surrounding the groundwater on the site at Toyosu as well. Therefore, I believe that this led many people to lose their confidence in previous governments because of these issues that were coming out.
そういう情報公開、透明性、さらにはそれが最終的に都民、自分たちのためになるという期待感が小池知事に集まっているのではないかと考えています。
And so these aspects of transparency and openness of information as well is perhaps leading to the people of Tokyo placing their expectations in Governor Koike.
で最後に申し上げれば、そういう小池都政の改革の方向性について公明党は しっかりと協力をして一緒に進もうということで、政策合意、選挙協力をしたということでございます。
And finally, I would like to remark that considering this direction of reform within Tokyo that Governor Koike is pushing forward with now, as Komeito, we are determined to have a firm cooperation and progress together with Governor Koike in regards to this. And it is as part of this that we have together concluded the policy agreement and also agreement on election cooperation.
なんか民進党についてはアドバイスのようなものも含めて
And something about the
ありますか？
Democratic Party, maybe it could be of advice for them also?
民進党の方は大変、苦戦をしていて、候補者または都連の執行部、そして、民進党本体の執行部も大変苦慮されていると思います。
The current situation of the Democratic Party, I believe that they are in, well, quite a difficult struggle at the moment. Not only the candidates in the election, but also the officials within the Tokyo headquarters or branch and also the main headquarters.
あえてアドバイスをするとすれば、国政での批判は国政でやればいいし、都政においては何をするかということを明確に打ち出していないというところが、この支持を集めていない大きな要因ではないかと考えます。
And if I were to provide them with some piece of advice, I would suggest that criticism of issues on the national policy level perhaps should be left to the national discussions. And the fact that they are perhaps not sufficiently making clear what they plan to do on the Tokyo Metropolitan level is what is leading to their lack of support at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. I wonder if we made any headlines today. Okay, just a ceremonial business. We have 1 year honorary membership for Mr. Takagi. So once election is over, please come and join us. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
ありがとうございました。Thank you.